Oh, that is actually now working. Okay, let's do this thing. Hello everyone, I'm Iron Phoenix and welcome to me standing in the middle of a field with a chainsaw, because after all, planets do not plunder themselves. Satisfactory has changed a little since update 2. I should note that it doesn't mean there's only been 2 updates since the game was released on Epic Game Store, but more that these are the big ones. The ones that really sort of the meat of the game, the ones that add some fairly huge updates. And then there's been a whole load of sort of hotfixes and little patches and things like that, just sort of add little things, change little things, etc. This is experimental as well. This has not actually been released into the main game because some of the, well, you know, it's bugs like that, you know. There doesn't seem to be anything major. I've not had any crashes here, but it's just sort of the slight sloppiness of things like that. So what you're seeing there is the tractor is remaining highlighted. I don't know why, and the highlight can be seen through objects. And so now, I always know where my tractor is anywhere on the map, which is nice. It's things like that, you know. Things might be a little bit broken, and they did do a hotfix recently. I say a hotfix; it was a fairly large update that modified it was like a 600 meg update, and one of the things it did was it modified one of the research items, because instead of basically, it was asking for 20. Got the rebar gun now. Let me just go to wherever this was. The power slugs. This one here, they actually changed the recipe, because it used to ask for 20 of the power modules, and it doesn't anymore, which I think is rather interesting. So yeah. Anyway, so update 3 adds things and it changes things. So let's start at the things that we know. So we've now got, I think it's 4 research type of things. So the hub terminal one hasn't changed much. You've still got your tier 0 to 8, is it? Yeah, 8. Little research things. The difference is here that instead of when you found Caterham, for example, and you would take it into here and research it, it would just give you a whole pile of stuff, and then you'd research it in there and it would like unlock some bits and pieces. That's all gone. Instead, now what you do with your Caterham or your quartz or power slugs or whatever is you bring it over to this thing here, and then it's like a tiered system of you unlock that one, then you unlock that one, and then you unlock that one. And in my case, if I can just grab some servos, I can unlock the rebar gun ammunition. So you first unlock the rebar gun, then you do a quick research to unlock the ammunition, and I will be able to do that one very quickly. And then we have the sink, the shop, and we also have the elevator, which has also changed very slightly. So instead of giving the loading the space elevator up with components that you would need for other things anyway, you craft specific components depending on what tier level it is, and we'll do that one we'll go over and do that one in a second. I do just want to get this sorted. So it was over in, I can't remember which one it was in. Wasn't it? Oh yeah, it's in this one, alien organisms. So we'll just quickly do that one. This is also how you unlock things like your medical inhaler as well, but all your additional slots as well. A load of additional slots is actually done through the molecular analysis machine, and you can build these multiples of these around, but it still uses the same pool of research. So if you set a research off and go to another one, that one will be doing the same research. it's slightly better, I think, in that because you can have multiple around and they're quite cheap to build, you can stick one of these next to where your Caterium is, and instead of having to run back and forth, you can just do a certain amount of stuff there. Now, let us. I'll do the the space elevator next, because I am doing some stuff with the space elevator, and it would be a good idea just to refill what I'm doing. Currently, an awful lot of the systems, they're quite new. I've been playing a lot of it today, but I've been playing it since I started work on this pretty much when Update 2 got released, and I realised that the world that I'd been built. Update 3, sorry. Well, the one that I'd been doing on Update 2, the game had changed so much that it was going to take me an awful lot of time and effort to actually get it all working again. So I thought, well, I'll just start a new one. Well, why not? So, so these are making specific things. So versatile framework, a smart plating, and whatever this one is, automated wiring. These are not things that are used in construction anywhere else. They are only used for the space elevator. And so the space elevator will ask for your specific components, and it's the same as before. You just kind of put it in. Currently, these are not automated. I have to run up and manually do it because it's all sort of still quite a new system that I've been putting in. Most of my time today has been spent trying to sort out my power grid, but I've just shown that very, very quickly because I need to do the sync first, and then we can go and have a look at what they did to power. It's different. I think it may actually probably have been needed, because I think coal power on its own was quite overpowered. There wasn't really a downside to having. You just basically stuck down some coal generators and just, it was just a thing. Anyway, so the resource sink. This is the resource sink. What it does is you put things in here. Well, you put things into a storage container that you don't really want anymore. So that I'm not going to grind that. Just grind a whole load of stuff. It doesn't matter. These are all just things I've got in my inventory, and it goes into the shop and it grinds the stuff down and removes it from the world. So think of this as a very big trash can. You throw all of your stuff that you don't want in this thing, and it will give you points depending on the item. Different items are worth different amounts of points. As far as I can tell, simple items are worth far less than more complicated items are. So if you were to put more processed items in there, so if I was to put the modular frames in there, that would get me more points per item. And this gives me coupons, and I can print my coupons out like so, and then I can go over to the shop, which I have put over here, and I can buy things with it. And it does seem to depend on what you've got. Well, yeah, it does depend on what you've got unlocked. So something that you can actually do is use your tickets, your coupons, to buy parts if you want to. If I wanted to, I could use 4 coupons to buy 50 modular frames, or 3 to buy encased industrial beams. You get the point. But this is another system of purchasing schematics. That's its main purpose, and then I would assume if you were just running low on parts, you could use that. There's some quite good little bits and pieces around. So, for example, one of the schematics you can get is a little vehicle, a little factory cart, which works best on concrete, and you can even use this on jump pads, which is kind of cool. But what I am going to do is I'm going to get the pipeline. Yeah, I'm going to get these. And so now that's a schematic that I've unlocked in here. I haven't got hypertubes yet. I need to start working on the hypertube thing at some point. But we could, I guess. we could experiment with that a little bit. I've not used them yet, but they do look quite fun. Yeah, that highlight just won't go away now. Usually, oh no, there it goes. I got rid of it somehow. There we go. Is it gone now? Oh no, sort of. Now I've just got the bench that's just going to highlight its way through everything. Anyway, what was I going to do now? Oh yes, so let's talk about this system, shall we? So, coal generators. As I said in the past, what you would do is you put your coal generators down next to your coal vein, and you would make a stupid amount of power from coal. The developers obviously didn't like that idea too much, so now it has an additional input, and that is water. They added pipes to the game, finally. It's been a long time coming. It was something that, quite frankly, when they released their release video, I didn't believe. I thought it was just a troll that they'd added pipes, but no, they have actually added pipes. And so now, instead of using conveyors to transport things around, to transport liquids around, you use pipes. And these pipes are they do include gravity into their various sort of calculations. So what you can see here is a fairly simplistic pumping station setup. This used to be all generators, but I modified this section quite extensively this morning, mainly because I had some severe power problems. So my fix for this was to build 2 power grids. This power grid just runs the water supply. It was the best way that I could think to do it. So this coal generator here only runs the water supply. And then I've got pumps, I've got storage containers, just in case there's any kind of power outage or whatever. I've got fluid buffers, and I've got pumps that pump it up this little thing here, and then the water goes down here, and I've got various pumps to keep the pressure high. I don't really know if they're needed, but it's more for my peace of mind. And so yeah, so these pipes just carry water, and they carry water into here. Later on, this will be used for carrying fuel and oil, and apparently there's some other new liquids as well that I haven't seen yet. So, what am I going to be doing today? Well, I think, in thinking about it, we probably should get some better transportation methods up, because I've got, let's see, so I'm not including this, this is at my main base up here. So, satellite stations that I might need to get to in a hurry. 1, 2, I think there's a 3rd one over there, and there's a 4th one over there, and there's a 5th one over there. So 5 stations that I tend to just run between. I've got the Blade Runners on, but yeah, getting from place to place is a bit of a hassle at the moment. So let's see if we can fix that, shall we? I'm going to need all of that. So I'm going to need hypertube entrances in the various locations. I should note, actually, so the Stormy Saturday Satisfactory stream, yeah, we've currently got a storm going on outside, and it's just reached its peak by the looks of things, which is interesting. It was kind of meh all day. I was just thinking, well, I went out yesterday because I wanted to avoid the storm. And it's like, okay, I did all that yesterday to avoid the storm, and nothing's happening. Is the storm actually ever going to arrive? And it has now, I think. Right, yes, so anyway, I need to go to this one. Just quickly knock up some beams. It's 4 beams for an entrance, so let's just knock up 8 beams. Yeah. the hypertube, yeah. So I also just need to get some servos, which I've got some of these over here. So my first hypertube, which I do wonder is a reference to the Hyperloop, considering how trolly these guys are. I mean, they went from making Goat Simulator, they went from making Sanctum, I think Sanctum was, yeah, Sanctum. They went from making Sanctum to making Goat Simulator to making Satisfactory. They're a very trolly developer. And they did make a joke, or is it the Cybertruck thing, which I don't understand the Cybertruck at all. It's like, hey, look, this thing is like bulletproof. Yeah, Top Gear dropped a Hilux off the top of a residential sort of block of flats, and they were still able to drive it away. A Hilux. The Hilux is notoriously indestructible. So really, if you're going to go around parading this this Cybertruck or whatever as indestructible, you need to compare it to the punishment that a single Hilux was subjected to. It wasn't just that was the final point of them trying to break the thing was dropping it off the top of a tower block. This is what infuriates me about Elon Musk, is that really he just needs to stick to and I just need to actually rewire part of this because I disabled part of it because I didn't need it, and now I do kind of need it. Yes, I want to just upgrade that bit, please. Excellent. Okay, yeah, now I can get back to complaining about Elon Musk. He's got some really good sort of rocket designs, and I think rocketry is certainly their thing that they do really well, that company. And then they tried to make cars, and then they tried to make all kinds of things, like their boring system, which their tunnel boring system, which they claim to be really cheap compared to this one really expensive the New York subway system that they compared it to. It's like, yeah, this is not how expensive normal tunnels are. New York subway system is really expensive because it's really complicated. And in comparison to something like the London Underground boring systems, which are also quite complicated, but they also are from the Victorian times. And actually they come out round about the same as what Elon Musk has for his tunnel boring. It's really not anything to write home about at all. Right, where do I want to put this? Because I don't really want it in the way. Actually, let's put it up here. It looks really small. It looks small to anyone else. Yeah, well, let's put it up here. So that's the entrance, and then that will be sort of hooked to a power line, whatever. Okay, and then we then we do that, and it goes a little bit wrong. Hold on, let me put it up here. I'm wondering if I'm going to need one sort of going each way, because okay, so in theory, just as a check of my thing. Oh god. So that is the entrance, and then yeah, we just jump in front of it, and then we zoom through. It's probably, well, not a huge amount quicker, but right. So what am I missing? I'm missing. Oh, I've got loads of this stuff. Absolutely loads. But yeah, I wish Elon Musk would just stick with rockets, on the basis that the Teslas. There's so much going on with Teslas, it's ridiculous. There were people who bought a second-hand Tesla, and parts of the software were turned off because they needed to pay an extra amount to Tesla to get it turned back on again. So the autopilot system was turned off by Tesla because somebody had bought one second-hand. There was the what was it? The software update that between, say, two vehicles that were exactly the same in every way, except that one was considered to be like the S model. Oh, that's how you do that. The S model, and it was literally this. It's literally just a software update to. I'm just wondering if I can put an. Can I do like an entrance slot on there, and then hook that up to a power line? I'll just find one. There we go. Can I do this? Hopefully. Can I just now be kicked out of the entrance? Woot. Nice. Okay, that's okay. I might want to change where the entrance actually is, because it's not actually in a very good place. I need it sort of closer to the ground than being up there. But that's okay. So what is it? The hypertube. What I can do is I can kind of have it up there and then sort of bring it down here, and then have the entrance on, hypertube entrance, and then just wire that in somewhere. The other thing that an awful lot of people aren't aware of is the high rate of injury at their factories, at the Tesla factories, because it's in America, and so these Teslas are just being pumped out as quickly as possible with very little regard to the safety of their workforce. And people are getting injured on the job, and then forced out of the company because they can't work anymore, so they get put on sort of reduced duties, and they can't pay their rent, and they have to find another job because they've been injured, and Tesla aren't actually paying out, aren't sort of fixing their lines to make sure that accidents aren't happening, but they're also not supporting the workers, which I think is kind of scummy. Especially when you consider most other car companies have procedures in place to make sure that their workers don't get injured, because it's expensive for them, cause if they're doing workman's comp or whatever, generally it's going to be quite expensive for them, and it's also not going to be, it's not a particularly good look either, if you've got a company that's there's an awful lot of injuries on their lines. From a media point of view, it's not a particularly good look either. Right, okay, so let's get this next hypertube down, which will it will follow the same line as this one up until up until about here, I think. What I would like to do is I'd like to get it up here, and then sort of swing it around towards this factory down here. So there's Ford are now using exoskeletons on the factory floor because it reduces for certain workers who work at head height, it reduces the strain on their shoulders and back, and as a result it lowers injuries, and it also makes people less tired. So there was a report for factory workers who started using an exoskeleton on in Ford's factories, and every day he would go home exhausted after work, and with the new exoskeletons, which are they're non-powered exoskeletons for the upper body specifically, and it allows him to do the same job, and he's an awful lot less tired after work, which I think is certainly a good thing. And so I used to work retail, and standing up, it doesn't sound tiring at all. Now thankfully I'm in a sort of a more mentally exhausting job, but yeah, so just being a cashier in retail is exhausting because you are literally standing up all day. By law, they have to offer a seat if requested, I think, but by law they should be doing an awful lot of things that they don't do. They're like, well, I don't think it's law. I think it's like a health and safety guideline specifically. And so there would be one chair where I worked. There was one chair for 7 tills. So there's one chair available if one person requested it. If 2 people wanted to sit down on a chair, they couldn't, because there was only one chair available. And it was sort of frowned upon for people to borrow the chair, which was old and extremely uncomfortable. The padding had all sort of gone. It was ancient, this thing. And yeah, so we just kind of used to lean on the back of the till, and every so often somebody would wander over, and there'll be like some pointed memo or something along those lines, basically saying you shouldn't be leaning on the back of the till. Well, what more do you want? And so yeah, so some company has come up with the idea of the chairless chair, which I think is a fabulous idea for people who work in jobs where chairs can be awkward in whatever sense. And basically it's attached to the back of your legs, and so when you want to sit down, you just sit down, and the chair sort of forms under you, and it takes the weight off your legs. I think that's a wonderful idea, and something that should be pretty much a fixture among retail staff, because sometimes you do need a chair, and good luck getting your company to provide one, especially when things are sort of these vague guidelines rather than actual law or company policy. It's a very, very different world, and it's a world that you don't really understand until you've done it, until you've worked in that sort of environment, or directly know someone who has. Oh damn it! I need the wherever I need to go. I can't. We'll run. It's fine. And so yeah, it's this is going off on a complete tangent, as I usually do. That's basically what these streams end up with. I end up running around the world and go off on a tangent about stuff. I think that's why people watch them. It's just sort of stuff in the background. As I can't really do much else today anyway. Well, I could, but funnily enough, looking outside, I don't really fancy going for a walk. It's odd that. This is Storm Dennis. Storm Dennis that's currently going on outside. Right, and now I can just zoom back to my main area. Okay, there's a little bit of collision when you go into trees, so we'll need to remove some trees at some point, just from around where the hyper tube is. But no, that's a nice little feature, and that would be quite useful for later on. I mean, I say later on, it's not very fast. You know, it'll get me around it's a little bit easier to travel, certainly, but for long distances I would be using a truck or the Explorer. I would not want to be using this for it's fine for these sort of short distances, but anything longer, I think we would just use there are better forms of transport, I think. Now, do I have any more coupons? Probably not. No. Okay, I will go and check on that. Yes. No, it's shaping up to be a really good game, and one day, hopefully soon, it will go to Steam, because here's the thing. I want this game to be on Steam, because it ought to be played by as many people as possible. And I do know there are still people out there who will not use Epic Store, and you know what? Fine. Ultimately, I understand why people may not want to use Epic Store. It's another launcher that you have to download. It's not particularly huge, and it's actually quite a reasonable sort of idea of how they're trying to do things. I think it's ultimately good, and in some ways an awful lot more consumer focused than what Valve are doing. Valve have the monopoly. I've been told off for using that word before, but ultimately, you know, they have grown a sort of a monopoly that was kind of it was sort of you know, if the retail stores aren't going to do what we can do, we're going to do it better, and that's fine, you know. But for quite some time they have not had the competition, and now they do. And as a result, how have they been dealing with it? Generally ignoring it. They don't need to change, because ultimately, if you want to get your game seen, you put it on Steam, and yeah, you pay a 30% tax on that, unless you're a big company, in which case you get tax breaks. Weird that, but yeah, it's a real shame, because Valve used to be a really good company, and now they're just not. They're not the same company that we used to know. They used to be, you know, the ones sticking it to the man, you know, not really sort of caring about what other people were doing. They were going to do their own thing, and they were going to do it really well. And they have done it really well, except that now that they have become hugely powerful, they've forgotten who they were, and it's now just all about the money. I always remember that statement that I can never find anymore, but came from a Valve higher up, where they said, well, you know, we could make Half-Life 3, Episode 3, but it wouldn't be profitable enough. And this is simply why I think that they've done Alex VR, because some people will say, oh no, they're making Alex VR. Yeah, that's because they want to shift the index. You know, it's if you want to buy the entire kit, it's £1,000. It's £1,000, $1,000. It's a lot of money for a VR headset with the finger controls. And yeah, best way to shift it is to make a game, because people will buy it for the game. it's purely a money-making scheme at this point, and it's a shame to see Valve go that way. But you know, each their own, and you know, and as a result, I just want people to experience Satisfactory. I don't care that, you know, right now it's on Epic Games Store. I actually quite like the store. I think it's certainly still got an awful lot of issues with it. Not having the shopping basket is a problem, but it's a problem that I think I can understand why it may be a thing, and I think it's literally because the code that it's based on is old, and it may not. You know, people will say, "Oh, just add a shopping basket. How hard can it be?" Probably quite difficult. It's probably not an easy thing to do at all, and you know, there's an awful lot of that going on just in the world of gaming anyway. You know, how hard can it be to add this feature? Probably quite difficult, because you know, the people saying how hard can it be aren't the people who are actually elbow deep in the code, thinking, "Oh God, who did this? Why was it done in this way?" You know, it's called code rot. And basically, it's you know, old code that's now so embedded with how the game is run that nobody can actually change it, because it's so embedded in the code that nobody can change it because they don't know what the knock-on effects are going to be. It's why when you look at something like Fallout 76 and you think, well, why is the performance dropped? Well, they've increased the map size, and I don't think their optimization is working correctly. Plus, they've done a whole load of working on a lighting engine that was fine in Fallout 4, but for some reason has horribly broken the game in Fallout 76. And I suspect quite a lot of that is because the engine is 15 years old, and it's been built on, and nobody really knows what any of it does anymore. Simply put. I need to beef up my steel production, actually. I also do wonder if it's going to be any better. I get this strange feeling that these two these things here might actually be prototype. But yeah, it's a conveyor wall mount, so you can mount your conveyors on any walls without needing a specific wall piece. Yeah. So yeah, it's why I hope Bethesda change their engine. And you know, it's one of those things of, you know, you say, well, you know, Bethesda should just change their engine, and you know, anything would be better than that. And people come forward and they say, well, no, they can't do that because of, you know, it's really expensive to make engines. Yeah, but the engine is now just so decrepit that you can't. I don't think it can be fixed anymore. I don't think it can be patched up. They did an incredible job for Fallout 4, but I think it's now at the end of its life because it can't be fixed anymore. And that was really showing in Fallout 76 that the performance is dire, like really, really dire, and the whole game seems to be engineered towards you. I don't know. There's something off with the balancing, and I'm not completely certain exactly what's going on. I need to make loads of state. I need to make a new I'm not awake for this at all. I need to make a new assembly line for the components that we're making down there, because I can't keep running backwards and forwards. So I need to start adding the systems to make things easier. Now I can do that almost immediately with one of them, because currently I'm running backwards and forwards for this one. What I need to do is actually move this over here. This assembler can just go down here. It doesn't really need to be probably wired into anything. What I need to do is I need to do that to there. This is going to be making smart plating, which, as we know, needs one reinforced plate, which I can get from here. And it needs rotors, which I can get from over here. So really, I don't need to be running backwards and forwards. Actually, is this one making... What's that one making? Hold on. I can't remember what this is making. This is making... no, this is not making the right thing. Hold on. Hold on, hold on. Rotors are coming from over here. I'm just going to patch this in, basically. That's an that's the one I wanted. Not awake. I'm not awake enough for this. Okay. So that does... Okay, so that just turns that. That's fine. They've added sort of features into various areas, and I don't necessarily know what it all does, so it's an awful lot of just sort of finding things out, basically. But I need to aim at that one, and then hopefully... conveyor belt's too long, which means I need to sort of... be easier with walls, which I have. It's like, that'll be easier with walls. Yeah, I unlocked those. For this sort of purpose. And I haven't actually used them yet. And then we just need to... A very small thing that they've done, which I really like. So before, when you had a power line, it would be not locked to a grid, even if you were on here. Now it is. So that's really, really nice. It's a little, basically a small quality of life change, but one that was really, really needed. Right. So is that now making my smart plating? Yes, it is. I'm just going to put a whole bunch of stuff in there that I've got lying around. Okay. So we now have smart plating. It's making 2 parts a minute. It's going to take some time. But what I can do is... No, I can't do that because I don't have the thing. But probably should just put my thing in there. Okay, so that is now making things. I am liking this new internet, I have to say. So it's actually surprising how much of a difference it makes. So I've been able to bump up the bitrate in general. So the stream should be an awful lot smoother now. And I have also done something else that I've forgotten. Yes, I've reduced the delay as well. So before we were on a 20-second delay, now we're on a 10-second delay, which is just, it just makes life a little easier on my end, and should result in a better streaming experience in general. Now, why have I run out of rods? I think it's because it's just being very slow to make. Because an awful lot of this stuff is old. There's an awful lot more like construction pieces as well now, which is nice. It's just an awful lot of just little quality of life stuff. So like having this, there's no real purpose to having these rails, but they look really good, and they're what I've wanted rails. I've wanted more sort of components to build things. So actually, I've got these mining drills, and I've just fenced them in, and it looks really good. And they're offset slightly, and so this one's a little bit further forwards, and so I've got slightly offset factory, which I've not actually completed yet. But yeah, no, it's really sort of coming along. And it's why I look at a game like this and say, yeah, that's probably pretty much ready for a Steam release now. The game is. I'm not going to say the game is finished. It's not. So I think there's probably some more things they can add to it. But the unless they're planning on anything too revolutionary, the core gameplay I think is pretty much down. Because we've got the pipes in, we've got the conveyor belts. There's an awful lot of things that they can certainly do in later updates to add more content. But the core, the gameplay, the design around the gameplay is done as far as I can tell, and they can now build off it if they want to do more. But there's an awful lot of content here just for anyone as well. It certainly keeps you busy because. Like this morning, my power shut down, and I was unable to restart it, and so I was running around trying to build this new power generator, because the old system that I had just wasn't good enough, and so this one is really good now. And but yeah, that's basically what the game does. Like my steel production now needs an overhaul. Which I'm not completely certain what I'm going to do about that one. Certainly if I bump up that iron, then I might be able to get the iron through quicker, meaning I could have another foundry. Certainly I think it's iron that I'm really sort of lacking in at the moment. So maybe we can just do that. So I would need a portable miner. And I would need a load of these. Can't make one. I wanted to just make one of these. Actually, hold on. Do I have the stuff to make rotors? Yeah, I do. This makes 4 rotors. Rather interestingly, I haven't actually gone out exploring yet because there's nothing really I've needed to find per se. There will be some things that I need, like the hard drives. I've not actually just got there yet. It's interesting, actually, that I've been fairly content to just stay in the grasslands area for the most part, and not really leave yet. I think I think leaving is certainly coming when I get all the stuff into the space elevator and get the oil and get like geothermal and stuff. Then I will be looking to expand quite majorly. But so far, it's been no real reason to leave the grasslands yet. I think there will be soon. I think there is already a reason to leave, but part of the problem is transportation. The tractors just aren't good enough yet. The transportation of goods, not people. People, yeah, fine, I can just use the tractor, but for sort of more complicated stuff, I need the truck, really, and I need the train lines. I am. Oh, I've got the new power poles as well. I should really start using those in places. But no, it's a fun. It's turned into a very fun game, and I say it turned. It was always a very fun game, but it's I should say it's continued to be a fun game. There's never really been a time when, there have been times today where I've just kind of let it do what it needed to do while I went off and did other things. That's, just a given, really, that's going to be the case with something like this. But I don't get easily bored with it. Sometimes you might want to take a break, but, you come back to it. You kind of get drawn back to it almost. Where's the power connection? There it is. Okay. So this is the Mark II drill. So this will double my ore that comes out of here, which is good. I love all the little animations for this. It's this game is an example. This should be used as an example for games development because it's fantastic. There's obviously some rough edges still. This is experimental, so there's going to be rough edges in this build, but for the most part, yeah, they've done a good job here. So I just need to upgrade this belt really, because I've got a huge amount of iron that's going to be coming through, and using those belts is a bit of a waste. So yeah, it's sort of to that level where this belt is full. I need to get this belt upgraded to steel, and then I can look at sort of building more foundries. In fact, what is it? Oh, it's servos which are currently being made over there. Well, I think you get the point. I'm going to end the stream here because it turns out I am quite tired and forgetful, and that's just not good for streaming purposes. But you can see where the game is going, where the game wants to go. And if you're interested, you can get this on Epic Game Store. One day I hope it comes to Steam, but for the moment it's just an Epic Game Store exclusive. And for now, I will say thank you